Today we're going to talk about why it's important to keep your maintenance up on your vehicle. One is you want to make sure that your engine and your vehicle is running properly and that it's safe for you to go on the road. Okay, so one of the most important parts of the vehicle that you want to make sure is working properly is your battery. You want to make sure that somebody inspects the terminals, make sure that they're tight, so you have a good electric connection, and that they're free of rust and corrosion. Having clean battery terminals and tight connections is important for your starting system and the rest of the electronics in your vehicle. Okay, so here's the terminals on this vehicle here, and they seem to be pretty tight. You don't see a lot of grease or oil and dirt on top of the battery. It's pretty clean. You got a little bit of corrosion here, so we take a wire brush and clean that off for you, and overall these are tight. So next, we're going to want to check the coolant level and your coolant hoses. Make sure that they're free of cracks and that they're not leaking. These hose clamps eventually end up cracking and cutting into the hoses, so you want to check your upper hose at the radiator and at the engine here. You'd have to check the carb to look underneath. And then the actual coolant level, so you'd want to remove the cap here and look inside to make sure that you have coolant in the reservoir. Sometimes there's a fill line to the low and high level. As long as you're in between the high and low level, your coolant level should be good. If you're concerned about heat in the wintertime, you may consider replacing the thermostat, but a quick check for that is to make sure that your heat is working. So the next thing I like to do is to make sure that your fluids are properly filled or in between the levels recommended by the vehicle or the manufacturer. So you got your min and your max here. This brake fluid is right up here, right near the max line, so that's fine. Then you want to take a look at it, see if it's really dark and dirty, you'll want to replace it or have it siphoned out and refilled. But for the most part, this one looks pretty clear. You see that? It's pretty clear, so it should be okay. And then you'd want to always check your oil level, and the color of the oil also indicates whether you'd want to replace it or not. So, pull it off first. So this one's kind of discolored. It's not very clear anymore. It's kind of got a brown shade to it. So we usually recommend replacing your oil every 3 months or 3,000 miles. It's just a good start point. Some vehicles can go up to 6,000 to 7,000 miles. It depends on the vehicle. So your owner's manual is always important for you to look at when you're concerned about the maintenance of your vehicle. And then we're going to check the power steering fluid also, make sure that it's at a good level. Again, you got your max and your min lines here. This one looks like it's pretty full. Just check to see if there's any, no dipstick on this one. It's at the full line, so it should be good. Looks pretty clear from here also, so that's a good indicator that your fluid is good. And then we'll check the hoses also, make sure there isn't any cracks in the lines or any leaks that you'd want to replace the lines if it is leaking. And then the belts are always good to look at. Just check, make sure there isn't too many cracks on them. A good indicator that belts are going bad is you'll hear noise when you start, squeaking noise coming from the inside the engine. It's usually a good sign that you're going to want to replace the belts. Also, we'll check the tension. The tension on these belts needs to be pretty tight. So if they're really loose, we can tighten them up for you or replace them. You don't want them falling off on the road while you're driving, so you want to make sure that they're tight.